Welcome to Tarot with Tanya. I'm here to hopefully help with the shift in consciousness that's taking place on Earth now. I think it's the most important thing that's happening. And the way that I would like to approach it is to work with unlocking spiritual meanings of words. This is something I've been meditating on for years, literally, and looking at words in a way that hopefully can help us use them in our lives to understand spirit better, to understand the messages that we already have encoded in our language. And in general, this is a time, as one of my favorite psychics said, that all hands need to be on deck. So hopefully this will help. I'll talk about the word for a little bit, and then I'll pull some cards on that, some tarot cards, and then we'll end with an oracle card for some inspiration today. So the word that I'd like to first explore is the word perfect. It's one that, well, obviously it's part of perfectionism, and I think that's something that many people suffer from. We're all trying so hard to be our best selves, and what does that mean? Perfect can turn into something through perfectionism that disables us, that keeps us from doing the things that we feel are important to do in our lives. So in meditating, the word came to me as meaning that it's something that we try to bring into form through spirit. So another way to think of it is being open to spirit. If you think of like a musician and how often really good musicians will say that it's not that they are playing the instrument, but they are allowing themselves to be played by the music through the instrument. So that to me connects with this idea of what being perfect is. It's an attempt to somehow express in the way that is authentic to each of us that resonance we have with spirit, that connection we have with spirit, so that we are feeling that we are contributing, that we are doing our best here, that there is a place for each of us, and it's not a competition, because I think often when we think of that word perfect or the word perfection, that's what we're thinking about. How do I stack up, or how do what I created stack up against what others are doing, or my performance, or whatever. But I would think that spirit really wants to encourage us to just look within and find that place where we feel like we are bringing forward what is natural to us. And that will be our contribution to the collective. That will be our way of helping this incredible, this tremendous spiritual shift that we're going through. So let's pull 5 cards. I'm using the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. This is one that a friend turned me on to many, many, many years ago, and I absolutely love. So we'll start with that. I did some pre-shuffling and meditating earlier. So let's see what Spirit has to say here in helping us understand right now, this time and place, whenever you get here is the right time and place for you. Let's see what these cards can help us understand about this redefinition, this spiritual definition of the word perfect in our English language. Let me just cut the deck here. Wow, interesting cards. So the first one I pulled was actually the Prince of Swords, called the Knight of Swords in some decks. And the Prince is about moving forward and using ideas, information, and moving forward quickly too. It can be about severing. You can see the sword he holds. The chariot he's riding is about the quick movement forward. The green and the yellows of the card are connected to communication, thinking. All air signs are about thinking, communicating to some degree. So it's about language, of course. And I feel like its message for us today, in part, is letting go of some of our old connotations of these words, our old connections to them, and thinking of them in new ways moving forward. And emphasizing that letting go and seeing things in a new way is the Death card. And I feel like this is actually speaking to this huge shift of consciousness that, many people are talking about. Certainly a big topic in spiritual circles, the topic. So, what are we changing? What are we transforming? What's being let go? And, part of what you see on the card is watery sorts of images that indicate what we have in the subconscious. So I feel like that's part of it, letting go of those old ideas and becoming conscious of even what they are, those old feelings, those old connections do we have to these words. And we also have the High Priestess. And one of the main qualities of the High Priestess for me is her work to bring spiritual information into book form, into the written word, into spoken language. You see the huge book sitting on her lap, the way her arms are raised. See old drawing down the moon energy, or in the case of the High Priestess, or Priestess as she's called in this deck, is to bring that information and make it clearer for people to help them understand that we need to change, we need to move on, that we can redefine and clarify and see things in new ways. So I feel like she's very much supporting the idea that we can redefine these words in ways that make them healthier, more giving to us, more bountiful. And speaking of, uh, the next card I pulled was the Empress. And of course, her traditional connection is to bounty. You can see she makes a sort of egg shape sitting here. Her gown has embroidered bees on it, a sign of course, sweetness and abundance. She has swans, signs of loveliness and graciousness, grace in general around her. So she is also representative of the full moon, of full motherhood, of that kind of bounty of the earth, of the deep feminine. So I feel like she is here today in this reading to help us feel that we are connected to that divine feminine, that we are in a place of bounty, and that we need to rethink how we have placed ourselves, and often with the power of words, in places of lack, places of I'm not good enough, which perfect and perfectionism definitely fit into for me. So two of the great goddess cards, as I think of them, from the deck have shown up, I think, to encourage us both on the spiritual and on the material level. And then the last card is really interesting. So here we have the Ten of Wands, a very different kind of energy, and in the Thoth deck, it's called oppression. You see that there are 8 swords crisscrossing each other, but then 2 on top that seem to sort of hold that energy back. And the Eight of Wands is a card that expresses energy, exuberance, communication, passion, things like that. So in this one, they're sort of held back. And I feel like it's made its appearance here today to help us understand that language can do that to us. It can create an energy of holding back. I also write poetry, so this is one of the things I think about a lot. What is it that we are conveying with our tone, our selection of words? And as I said earlier, what are these connotations of these words? Are they holding us back, like perfection can? Or are they encouraging us to move forward, to give up, maybe even internalized depression? Which again I think can be embedded in our language. So trying to raise that awareness of how we use language, how we wield our words, that can be another way to think about our Prince of Cups, or excuse me, yes, our Prince of Swords rather here. And let's draw a card from the Sacred Geometry deck, which is an oracle deck by Francine Hart. This is my new favorite oracle deck, a gift from a dear friend. So again, I premeditated on these cards as well. And so I'll just shuffle a little bit here. And we'll pull something to hopefully give us an even deeper understanding of this word, perfect, and its power in our language. All right, here we go. And the golden spiral. This is based on the Fibonacci sequence, and here is her artist depiction of that. And because I do not know these cards very well yet, since they're new, I'm going to share from the book what this one says. And interestingly enough, when I was meditating on this yesterday, I got the same card. So I feel like that's very much Spirit's way of saying, yes, we're on the right track here. So the golden spiral is another name for the Fibonacci sequence, and she also calls it divine proportion. The golden spiral is the cosmic representation of ideal balance, universal harmony, and spiritual transformation. The spiral is the blueprint of all nature and indeed of our humanness. From the double helix of our DNA to the spiral shape of galaxies, this piece of sacred geometry is container and accelerator of consciousness. So hopefully, looking into these words in this way, discovering word magic, that's what I like to think of it as, word magic, discovering that magic in those words that have become, if not at least very ordinary for us, where we take them for granted. You know, we know they're tools, but we don't really understand them or unlock their meanings for us, and especially those deeper spiritual meanings. Well, hopefully this is a vehicle for raising that consciousness and helping us wield our words, use our words with more consciousness. This card connects you with the primordial whirlpool of creation, the cosmic soup from which we all emerged. And our language, of course, did too, all the languages from around the world. Contemplate the immensity of this connection. You are not separate from Source. You are not alone in the vastness of time and space. Rather, you are unity and oneness. You are connected to every particle of energy and light, to every wave in all of creation. Taking this into your everyday life, it becomes clear that there is no us and them, no separateness. Realize the sacredness of the golden spiral and rejoice in knowing that you are part of the life flow of the universe and one with all that is. And the part that really jumps out from this today to me is that part about not being separate, that we're all connected, and that the spiral helps us remember that. That the spiraling energy is where we all come from, that we are always connected to it, and that when we are perfect, are playing with our perfection, what we're really doing is connecting to that spiral, connecting to that energy source, and allowing it to come through us in a way that is unique to each of us, whether we're teachers, writers, artists, musicians, mothers, fathers, whatever, gardeners. We all can connect and make things that are authentic to who we are with the help of spirit and without the fear of having to be perfect in the old sense of the world. Well, thank you for being here today, and in some way, I hope this helps you. I'll be back again soon.